You're listening to Swinging Down Under, a podcast about the swinging, non-monogamous lifestyle. From two crazy Australians with over 4 years of lifestyle antics to keep you entertained, informed, angry, happy and horny. Join our international swinging adventures. G'day guys and welcome back. What we're going to talk about is a sixsome that we recently had in Singapore. And
welcome back. Where are we coming from?
We've actually been holidaying around the Caribbean. We've been attending a lot of parties. We definitely were on a yacht at some point in time naked. What else can I add to this fanciful, non-existent holiday that we've been on?
How many COVID injections you've had to try and fix all those problems?
Oh, none many, because I'm immune.
No,
Oh, so funny. So no, we're going to talk about a sixsome, but I before we get started, have we had a sixsome? I can't remember now. It's been so long since we've done anything in the country that we live.
Have we had a sixsome in Singapore?
Yeah.
No, this is the first one.
Yeah, I think it is too, right?
No, I don't think it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. So we're going to talk about the sixsome that we had. We're going to run through some of the leading up to the event. We're going to talk about the actual play. And then we're going to finish off with something that I said to Daryl during play that was, quite frankly, inappropriate. And so we're going to run through that.
A total dick move.
Yeah, we're going to run through that with you guys that, it doesn't always work out rainbows and lollipops and sometimes you fuck up. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. And I just want to kick this off with the fact that I posted up on Twitter, how do you get ready for an event when maybe you're not feeling your greatest? And that can be anything. That could be you're tired, so you're a bit fatigued. It could be that you've been stressed with work, your kids have been irritating. I mean, it could be...
Or you're just feeling like a fat cunt. And I had some really fantastic responses, about ways that people kind of pump themselves up for these events. Well, if you're feeling a fat cunt, you're trying to, slim yourself down. So that's not going to work, is it?
No, it's more around the mental side of it.
Of course I'm joking. It was a funny.
How do you pump yourself up for heading out to an event? Some of the responses were like, put on some sexy music, wear something lovely. But one of the responses, which I thought was really good, was kind of about the pre-work. And it was like, well, kind of anticipate we're going to feel that way. And so we do something before the event, which is exactly what I went and did. So I actually did a spray tan because I'm like, that'll help.
Sorry, who now did a spray tan?
You put the spray tan on me. So thanks, babe, for getting involved because it is a team sport. And these sorts of things where I went and got my toenails painted and did that to try and help me feel a little bit better. But I tell you what, one of the...
Just a little bit pretty.
A little bit. What is... I feel pretty... Not really.
Please don't. That's high pitch. You don't have the vocal range for that.
I feel COVID. I feel fat rolls are rolling around.
Yes.
And I've eaten too much cheese and drank so much wine.
Please let's get on because it's like death to my ears.
So, yeah, that's what I did. I tried to make myself feel a little bit better.
Got your toes done as well.
Got my toes done. Here was one of my concerns.
Or your feet, I should say.
Yeah,
Not the plates of meats done.
My plates of meat. I was concerned I was going to be the biggest person at the party. And let me clarify, I don't mean the fattest person at the party. I mean the biggest person at the party. Here in Singapore, we have mentioned on a number of occasions that I am taller. My boobs are bigger, my butt is bigger, and most of the women here are very small framed. And as a result of that, generally speaking, I go into a party feeling a little bit like Godzilla.
Yeah, but like without the grrr and the little short front arms.
Yeah.
Although your arms are, disproportionately shorter than your legs, but that's just, that's a whole different conversation.
But that was a serious concern of mine. And I don't know, confidence-wise, Daryl, did you notice any shift in like my mental state going in or anything like that? Like, did you actively notice that?
Yes, absolutely. I think...
Tell me about it.
I think there were a few points throughout the night, one we'll get to after everything else, where it was obvious that your mental state was not where it should be.
I did raise an eyebrow when you took your panties off. Or not your panties, when you took
what?
Your shirt off. And someone said something about the colour of your jocks. I raised an eyebrow about that because I was like, dude, I like Daryl's jocks. Like,
you actually don't like those ones.
No,
they're
those
not
ones...
the ones that you like.
Are they not?
No, you've told me before that you hate those and I should not wear them.
Oh, okay. And
the floral ones.
The rest of the party agreed then, so...
No,
okay.
They didn't agree. They just pulled the piss out of me because I was wearing floral underwear. You know what? Fuck them. Fuck everyone. I felt good in them. I don't really give a shit what anyone else thinks. That's where I'm at. And,
The interesting thing about this party is, and actually I just want to give a shout out to Singapore, who has, again, had now 14 COVID-free days. Congratulations, Singapore. It's fantastic. The people that we were going to see, one of the couples we'd seen before and one of the couples we hadn't, and The other couple we really didn't know anything about, really hadn't spoken to them. It was just a, hey, you guys seem cool and...
I know these guys and you guys know these guys, so let's get these guys together.
Yeah, let's smudge some
bits together.
Did you have any reservations going in and meeting a new couple? Like, this is a question we actually got online. Was
of course.
Okay, so what's your reservations? Like,
I mean, the first reservations are around safety, of course, given the COVID scenario throughout the world, and of course how other people might feel about that, and whether I'm putting them in danger as well. And look, I have to say, well, right now it's an infinite chance of being infected here in Singapore, because it's an infinite probability, I should say, that it's entirely, one might say impossible, or very close to impossible, very highly improbable that you would catch COVID here. That's certainly one of the things that comes to mind for me. And even prior to the fact that we've gone 14 days without any infections whatsoever in Singapore, prior to that, I would say there has been a less than 1 in 6 million chance of actually running into somebody who has COVID here as well. So, as much as I was concerned about what the potential for that was, it realistically was very low in terms of the chance of that happening. So that's one thing I took into mind very quickly, and I think we both did. That was a concern for both of us. Actually, it's been a concern for both of us since we started meeting up with anyone in Singapore.
What I will say is, when the actual host couple put this forward as a suggestion, and we booked this, I think, 3 weeks out, one of the things that they said very quickly was that this other couple was very similar mindset to us, which is basically, we don't do shit. We're all basically isolating anyway.
That's the reality of where we sit right now, which is very different to the rest of the world. So if you're going to judge away, I have no issue with that. We've been very obvious and protected in terms of how we've acted throughout the whole COVID pandemic, and that won't change. We are moving soon, and we are moving to a country that the COVID exposure is much higher, and that will, again, unfortunately, restrict our play to a much higher level than what we've had here, or what potential we've had here in Singapore.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of actually meeting a new couple, though, what other reservations do you have about them? Just I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm not even going to make some examples, but what else went through your mind?
Well, I mean, given that I'm not happy with where I sit right now in terms of my weight, I was concerned that, again, I might be the fattest one in the room. And that's got nothing to do whether they're fat or not, or whether they're, physically what I define as that. It's got nothing to do with that at all. What it's got to do with is me and how I feel about myself. Mm-hmm. So that's certainly a significant aspect of my consideration. Additionally, just interacting with other people. Again, we've been out of this for now the better part of a year, in fact, in terms of our interaction with people. And, like every skill, it's a practice skill in terms of, who you are, where you're from, all that sort of thing.
Right.
Sounding interesting, keeping conversation flowing. It's all practiced. So if I don't have the ability to, offer a good conversation, then that's also a problem. The other thing is we're looking to leave soon, literally. So with that in mind, what is the reaction to somebody when you tell them that now?
Yeah, I think it would have been the same reaction that we had to people 4 years ago when we'd go on a date, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, we're leaving in 3 months. Same sort of situation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is.
So coincidentally, everyone was leaving in less than 3 months.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. All 6 people at the table were all like, yep, we're leaving next month, we're leaving the month after, and we're leaving like 2 months later. So there you go. One thing I did want to say that really ties in nicely to your last point, though, which was about being out of practice with meeting new people. And that, I'm actually just saying meeting new people. I'm not even saying meeting swingers, because like we haven't spoken or met anybody new in like a year. So I think not only are we out of practice in terms of like being around other lifestylers, we're completely out of practice and actually just having conversation with new people, I think, anyway.
Yes.
Well, one of the things surrounding that was my concern in the first, I'm going to say hour, that they just were either very, very shy or didn't like us.
I think, let's be fair here. They didn't like you because everybody loves me.
Maybe. I felt like, I don't know, I was just getting a really strange vibe. I was having trouble getting them to engage back, and I think it was maybe shyness on their part, because it was just a bit strange there for about an hour.
Yeah, it's almost like you should take into account the fact that everybody else has gone through exactly the same time, away from people that you have.
Yeah, I would say though, after a little bit of time and a couple of drinks, like they started changing their body language. They started engaging more, opening up a little bit more. Did you find that as well?
Yeah, I think that was just, again, new people meeting. I think the expectation sits when you're meeting with people who you know and people who you don't. There's always that concern. I suppose there's a click there that you're going to have to bust through as well.
Right,
so
okay.
I understand exactly why it was like that. And
so you were getting that vibe too? It wasn't just me?
I don't think I was getting it perhaps to the level that you. I wouldn't have been something that I would have isolated as something obvious.
Okay. Another thing that I did think of was like, oh my God, are we being those really loud, obnoxious Australians? That's what was going through my head.
That's that is where we sit,
Yeah.
We're number 2 in the world scale.
True story.
In terms of most obnoxious country.
What I will say is that the manoeuvre to play in this particular instance was much better than last time. So remember, we spoke about this couple last time and we said, like, all of a sudden it was a really, really strange transition.
Yep.
And a lot of people ask us this question, like, how do you guys transition from talking and getting to know each other, having a couple of drinks to play? And we've spoken about the last time where it was just really strange and it felt a bit jarring. This time, the transition to play worked really well. What am I talking about? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, we were, playing a game is the best way to put it.
I'd say game.
I don't even remember what it was that we had to discuss. Do you remember?
Nothing. We just pick a song and get undressed.
No, that's what it was. Yeah, it was pick a song that you'd strip to or be sexy to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then every time you did that, you had to take off an article of clothing, basically, which is, puts Kate in a fairly lackluster position, given that she was wearing a one-piece. I was
wearing a jumpsuit with nothing underneath it, so one piece of clothing, which is pretty common. But
thankfully, we gave you some compromise and said you could just, undo the halter top and bring it down for the first manoeuvre. So you got two goes.
So we're going to start talking about the transition and then we're going to talk about the play. So this transition, I got to tell you, worked so much better than last time. I think that it just put everybody at a little bit of a frisky, fun kind of mindset, definitely. So the idea behind this game was that, we had Spotify running in the background, which, by the way, actually just a note on that, if you're going to do this, please pay for premium Spotify. What is it, like $10 a month?
This is we had a lot of fun at the expense of the person who
the host.
The host. He's a lovely guy, I might add. It was a lot of fun. We had every time he changed the songs,
an ad came on.
The ad, so it was a bit of fun to just make his life a little miserable. Although I think I might have gotten a little carried away with my piss takes, given how well we know them. Like, we know them well-ish, but not perhaps to the level I was taking the piss.
Yeah.
So I actually felt a little bad about that afterward, and I almost sent him a message afterward just saying, look, dude, I know I got a bit carried away. I'm hoping that it's all okay, and sorry if it went too far. I don't know that it did, but I felt a little out about it afterward.
Yeah. So the game essentially, there were 6 of us sitting around in a circle and no one was next to their partner, and it was just, which also, by the way, that worked really well. So instantly, I don't know whether you noticed, but instantly as soon as we walked into the area, I sat next to somebody else because I was like, I'm going to get ahead of the curve here, and I'm not going to allow people to be like, oh, you can sit there and you can sit there next to you. As much as I love you, darling, but I was trying to like...
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was I'm glad...
Because I was the first person through the door too, and I was like,
regularly you don't do that, and I actually...
You have to be the one to do it.
I really prefer that you do. Not that I have to do it. No, normally in a 4-person situation, you'll sit down on the other side of the chair, which means, or I arrive after 3 people have sat down and you've already effectively put us in the position where I have to sit beside you. And I don't have a problem sitting beside you, but it really does make that transition harder if you don't have the chance to physically engage with people as well.
Yeah. So the game going around the circle was to, pick a sexy song that you might be your like stripper song, coming out song, and then take an article of clothing off.
It was a great idea, and it's something that I may steal and try and use in future.
100%, yeah. I thought it was a great idea. So there were 6 of us just going around.
It was a spontaneous idea as well. I don't think there was actually anything behind that.
I think it was a spontaneous idea too. So mad props for that.
Absolutely.
And then it got a little bit hot and heavy outside, I'm going to say. And again, I would like to remind everybody that actually being nude in your own home inside your 4 walls is actually illegal. So you can imagine 6 people being nude on a balcony.
It's not a balcony.
Or a veranda or outdoor area.
Yeah, it's an unprotected outdoor area, other than the well, it's got a roof, but nothing around it.
Yeah. So I think at one point we were like, we need to go into the bedroom at this point, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Otherwise, hey ho.
Yep. Thankfully, the property that we're in has bounding fences that are quite large and quite overgrown.
Oh yeah.
But there is one area one neighbour that overlooks, but we were keeping a watch out. There was nobody there, but anyway, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, 100%. So then we make our way upstairs and into their bedroom, which I think everybody was like pretty eager to get up there. I got to say, like by the time this game had been finished playing, and then people were like fooling around downstairs, I think it was time to move upstairs. Absolutely, and everybody was pretty excited about that. Now, when we got up there, the first thing that I did was start to get out stuff out of our swinger bag because I noticed that nobody else has a swinger bag in this scenario too. So I'm actually going to bring that up to the couple this weekend. Nobody else had a swinger bag. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I think that's probably because they weren't anticipating things to go as quickly or as far as they did, given it's
essentially a first date.
Yeah.
We did play on the first date, and yes, I did take a swinger bag because I was trying to be prepared in case of situations such as these.
You took it so you could take the wine and gin. That's the main reason you took it.
Oh yeah, our swingers bag is actually an alcohol transportation device that also has additional pockets for swinger-related items. So That's actually the primary purpose of it, but I just call it a swingers bag. So I started taking everything out and getting ready. And the last time we actually played with these people, I went and got changed into lingerie. And this time, I specifically didn't take lingerie because I was like, that's going to be pointless because by the time that I get into it, I have to go get into it and then come back out, everybody's already doing stuff, which is exactly what happened last time. So this time I was smart. I was like, fuck it. I'm not even going to waste time with the lingerie. I'm already naked from being outside naked, so let's do it. So I got stuff out of the swingers bag. You started to play with the new couple straight away, right?
Yeah, so let's just keep in mind everybody at this point is sans clothes. So
the game worked well.
The game worked well, so it was a pretty natural progression. It wasn't that there was no real choice. It just happened to be that they were the couple that I was closest to.
Is that how it happened? Because I was wondering how the pair off happened because I was getting stuff out of the bag.
You're actually a little confused because the two there was a two couple change there while you were getting stuff out of the bag. It was opposite partner. So the male from one partner, male from one couple was with the female of the other, and I just joined the one I was closest to while you were getting things out of the bag.
So what was happening over there? What was going on in your mind? And run me through your review of the evening, and then I'm going to run you through my review. Not review. Run me through your...
Jesus.
Run me through what happened with you, and then I'm going to run through...
Maybe we should Yelp it. I mean, where are we at here?
And then I also want to know how many times you looked across at what was happening, because basically we subdivided straight away. And so I want to know, when all this happened? What happened?
We did. That's because you chose to join the other non-couple that was closest to you at the time. Anyway, so I mean, we were standing up for a while playing the two guys, one girl scenario, and then.
Am I allowed to constantly interject?
Oh, well, then yeah, but why would you have your review after this? Then?
No, I was going to ask you a question.
Okay, go.
Do you find it awkward when you're just standing up playing? Because I know years and years ago. Not to start. Okay, carry on.
So I was playing with those guys for a while, and then we proceeded. I mean, it was a standard sort of the only things you can do while standing up, finger play and things like that, and mutual manual stimulation. Moving from there, we moved onto the bed, and in fact, that group's kind of split up at that point, and everyone sort of got onto the bed, I think, at that point. So I suppose rather than going back through the whole thing again, perhaps you can give your initial start-up phase in terms of what happened on your side.
Well, okay, there was a few times throughout the night, by the way. They have a sizable bed, right?
It's a fucking huge bed.
But there was a few times throughout the night where I was like,
triple king.
I feel like you guys are all taking up way too much space, and I can't get on the bed. Mm-hmm. There was a moment there where I was like. I think he said to me at one point, come over and sit on my face, which I'll get to in a second. And I was like, dude, how? How am I going to get on this bed? And then how am I going to enter over the top without literally standing on someone's head or something. I was really worried about that.
You're pretty incapable of not standing on somebody's head.
No, I was worried about injuring somebody because there was bodies everywhere.
I love you, but you're a klutz. It's your go-to move to fall over and hurt yourself or someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after I unpacked the swingers bag and got out, so I took a small vibrator, I took a bigger vibrator, and I just want to point out too that Daryl was actually wearing his cock ring. So before we left and we were getting ready to leave our house, I asked Daryl to put his cock ring on, and so he was wearing that.
I don't know that I was asked.
Oh, yeah, that's
true.
It
was slid across the
table. I just handed it to you and I was like, put this on.
Yeah, that's not really asking.
No, not really.
But that's okay. It's something that generally makes me feel sexy anyway. So yeah. And I was needing that for that particular night.
Okay, so before I get into my thing, like, did you feel sexy? And especially towards the end of obviously when we're playing the game and everybody had to strip down.
Not really.
With you didn't feel sexy with the cock ring
on? Not at all.
Okay. And then as you took your clothes off, everybody was asking you about the cock ring and to explain the cock ring and show you the cock ring. So it became a bit of a show and tell situation as well. So
absolutely.
I liked that. So yeah, so I unpacked. I had a small vibrator, a big vibrator, I had a condoms and everything like that. I unpacked it all.
I didn't take it off nor put it on in front of anyone because that is not something that anybody needs to see.
No, that is not things that people need to see.
That's not pretty.
And yeah, you're right. When I turned around, it was one lady from one couple and a guy from the other couple, and I started engaging with them. So kissing them both. Now, the lady that was there is bisexual. So I don't know about the other lady. I have no idea. I didn't engage with her. And so the lady I was playing with is super bisexual and very interested immediately in playing with me. I don't know whether
both were either. Well, both may not have been may not have identified as that, but both were certainly engaged with other ladies.
Okay, right. So they were engaging with each other. Okay, so that was interesting. So I think that she was very eager to play with me, and also the new guy was also very eager. So the three of us did kind of peel and start, to doing what you were doing. So we were kissing each other. They were kissing. I was standing in the middle, then kissing from him to her, and that was kind of how our play started. And then we did. Actually, yeah, I think both of us started sucking his cock and then we moved over to the bed. And this is when I actually bought the small vibrator for her with me, which, by the way, I charged before we left home, and that particular vibrator suggests that it has a 4-hour runtime. It does not have a 4-hour runtime because it ran out while she was playing with it. So
I've told you that before. I told you that the battery in that thing is dead.
Yeah.
You didn't believe me.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to charge it for an entire day and then just leave it on and put a timer next to it and actually see what's going on.
It's getting old. I mean,
that's the second time.
Welcome to the world of lithium-ion batteries.
That's the second time she's used that toy and it's run out on her, by the way. So yeah. I feel at this point. Anyway, so we moved to the bed, and I think we were the first ones on the bed, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, and that's actually what dragged us over.
That's what dragged you over. So we get on the bed, and her and I start engaging with each other, and he then is also coming over, and we were both pleasuring her. So she was laying on her back, and we were kissing her. She was then kissing him and kind of moving down and using the vibrator on her and stuff like that and playing with her clit. And that's kind of how we all started on the bed. So back over to you.
Yeah, so, well, the two guys were basically playing with the girl. So it was, one was kissing, which was me, and the other was involved in going down on her, which was the other gentleman. So that happened for some time, I suppose. And then he went away he was ready to start having sex with her. He went away to do that. And that
happened quite quickly, didn't it?
There was a lot of movement on the bed at that point. And I think you guys sort of broke up and got engaged, and at that point, you stepped backward, and I think he then decided, rather than playing with the other lady, that he was going to do you from behind, whilst you were, I don't know whether you weren't really doing anything. You just seemed to be like touching and feeling, and not necessarily sexually involved, I suppose, is the best way I could put it.
Yeah, well, so what actually happened was he actually must have been coming over to have sex with his wife, to be honest, and so. And his wife at the time was actually she was sucking the cock of the other guy. And then when he came over, I was like, he said something, and then I said, oh my God, yeah, you need to fuck her from behind while she's sucking the cock of the other dude. Like, that's going to be super hot. Mm-hmm. And also let me just get a toy and we can do this whole, let's do this whole thing. So I did become a little bit of a director.
Just for something different.
Yeah. Which was really, really hot at the time. And I quite enjoyed that aspect. So he was fucking his wife from behind, and then she was sucking the cock of the other guy, and then I was kind of being like let me just get this toy and use it here and stuff like that. So,
and at that time I was going down on the other lady for quite a period of time until she felt guilty basically.
Did she feel
she
guilty?
actually said that. She said, I feel guilty.
I did look up at one point and she was going down on you for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, she was sucking your cock for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy it?
Of course I enjoyed it. I mean, it was lovely. It was fantastic. It was everything that I could have hoped for and more.
I thought that this particular play session, I must say, with this sixum, had a lot of oral in my experience. Would you say, like, I feel like I sucked every guy's cock in that room. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I was playing with her.
There was just a lot of play. I think there was a lot of play in general. We were in the room for 2.5 hours total.
Well, yes, we were, because I actually, at one point, I went back downstairs nude to get a second bottle of water to bring up and try to dish out to everybody. I was like, let me just go get refreshments, guys. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, so it was a reasonably long session with a lot of fun, all over the place. But it was sexy to watch as well. So I did actually. So with one of the gentlemen, we actually stood back for a while and we were just watching from the sidelines.
Was that when I was sitting on faces?
No.
Okay.
No, it was later on when one of the ladies was going down on you and her husband was shaking her from behind.
Oh, okay. Right.
So it was very sexy to watch. There was a lot of watching going on as well.
Oh, that must have been when she was using the vibrator on me, actually.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that was when she was using the vibrator. So what I will say is that during the session, one couple really must like face sitting, because both of them during the session at one point or another said to me, like, hey, come sit in my face. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether you noticed that, but I was like, I just felt like I was climbing mountains all night. I'm like, sure, here I come. Pussy in the face.
Sounds horrible. I'm sure you struggled through it.
Well, it was pretty unusual for like two people in a session to be like, hey, come and sit in my face.
Well, there was a third who asked you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh.
You didn't do it though.
No. I was done climbing mountains by that point in time. I needed some isotonic or something.
You basically just told me to fuck off.
Oh, did I?
No, not at all.
What alternate universe are you working in?
Yeah. So yeah, there was a very, very sexy group and sexy adventure. And at that point, I think we shifted. I actually, after getting head for, I'm going to say 20 minutes, I was starting to feel guilty. And so I leaned up and said, would you like me to fuck you? And she said, yes, absolutely. So that's when that happened. It was very sexy watching what was going on the other side of the bed whilst that was happening. So I think you had a man go down on you at the time and you were kissing a woman. Yeah, that was really sexy for me to watch. In fact, I ended up coming very reasonably quickly, I'm going to say, and that was on the back. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses. It just happened because it was a sexy environment.
Yeah.
And I wasn't interested in holding off at that point, so it happened.
It is sexy.
I then had to go and change condoms.
It is a sexy environment, and one of the common, I guess, comments or questions that we get, especially from people considering the lifestyle or just people discussing it for the first time, is about that live porn element. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is just something to be said about people just enjoying each other and enjoying themselves. You have to give yourself permission to be able to actually enjoy a situation like this, for starters, because if you're not giving yourself permission, or if you're feeling elements of guilt, you're obviously going to be holding back a little bit. So there's that side of it, but it is just live porn that you're participating in, and it is very, very sexy, and the sounds and the lights and everything else that go along with that is super fun. So I wanted to point one thing out that happened. I was sucking his cock at one point in time, and she was behind me doing something. I think it was a lady behind me doing something else, and then there was people fucking on the side of the bed, because I kept getting, when you're getting maneuvered when you're trying to give somebody head, and then it's like every now and then your head just smashes into the person's, pelvic bone.
Yep.
So that was happening, but I was sucking his cock, and I was looking up intensely at him, and I don't know whether you were watching this happening, but I was rubbing my hand up his chest and like over his nipple and then up to his shoulder, and it wasn't forceful, like it was a little bit harder than you would normally do, I guess. Like it wasn't sensual, it was much more of an animalistic, like I'm sucking your cock right now and I'm going to do a great job. And he was really enjoying that. So he was like grabbing my hand and moved it closer to his collarbone and closer to his neck to indicate like, hey, I'm okay with this, and this is fine. If you want to do that, like you can put a bit more pressure on this. So while I was sucking his cock for ages, by the way, and felt like I was doing a really good job, so I'm just going to like give myself a bit of a pat on the back.
Just throw some props out there for yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like I was putting in. I really do. Like I feel like I was really
climbing mountains. Yeah.
Yep.
Great job.
I was putting in, and so that was really interesting. And we were doing that for quite a while. So he was, very much into that, more like I was looking at him, sucking his cock, putting my hand, more pressure on his collarbone and around his neck area. And what I realised the next morning when I woke up is that he likes teeth on his cock, and I totally forgot about that. So I was like, missed opportunity.
Totally.
I wish I'd have remembered that, because and then I was thinking, I made a little joke in my mind. I'm like, how do you remember what each of your sex partners wants? Just I guess after playing with them for a while, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so that was interesting. And then I was like, oh, that's why he likes it that way, because he also likes a bit of teeth as well. So he's really, he likes that harder element. Yep. And I was like, damn it, I totally forgot.
Yeah, so it turns out even though you gave yourself props, you weren't very good. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that there was opportunities for improvement.
Perfect. Yeah, so look, at that point, I suppose for me it was, so I'd actually already come in and had at that point changed condoms and was going back for round 2. But I think that's right, the husband of the lady I was with actually came over and he was trying to get involved. Now, to explain, there were some issues in the room that actually ended up driving a slowdown for me as well in terms of because normally I'm back to full status basically straight away. I was starting to try and figure out how I could manoeuvre the other gentleman to get them into a more appropriate position so they would feel comfortable and relaxed and start having a little more fun than they were having at that point, but which took its toll on me, unfortunately, which was not the first time that's happened, but I've already been engaged with somebody, so there's in most cases people expect a bit of a downtime, but for me it's not typical that's the case. It does happen, but it's not typical. So with trying to help them out, I ended up with a flaccid penis as well, because I'm walking around the room trying to not walking around the room, but trying to manoeuvre people so that they're back with their partners and feeling a little more comfortable, I suppose. And so that was where, I'm sure you've got some bits to add in there as well.
Yeah, so I want to probably talk about what I said to you last to finish up, because I think that's a really important point to discuss. I want to talk about that after we talk about the play. I mean, that's basically where I wrapped up. Like, I know that you also had sex with the other lady, and then later in the evening you took me from behind as well.
Well, I think you're missing one of the interesting points, which was she was giving me head whilst using a vibrator on you, and then she turned around to focus on you. She stood up to do that. She was standing beside the bed, and that's when I actually started fucking her from behind.
Yeah.
So that was I think a prompter for the comment that you made, actually. Mm-hmm. And it's important that people understand that. That was a very sexy thing for me to watch, to have her involved with you and me at the same time, and then manoeuvre to you, and you were actually, you, as far as I could tell, you actually came while she was doing that.
I did. There was a moment where it was almost derailed, because that particular vibrator is very strong, intense, and she just had it, I think because she was sucking your cock at the same time, so clearly.
So she was doing two things at once. She did a great job. I'm really, really impressed with that.
I know. And then I think it just, like, the vibrator just slipped firmly on my clit.
It went under the,
and I was like,
under the hood and straight
and I was like,
on.
Whoop. I did a little, like, hold on, too much, like, back it up.
But she managed to recover from that quite nicely and got you off, and I then started fucking her from behind.
Yeah, and then later when you were fucking me from behind over the top of the bed, I know that she was then back playing with her husband, and I think the other couple was engaging with each other as well. But there was also, I know that people did stop and have a bit of a watch for a while. So I think people were taking a break and watching us fucking for a bit as well. So
Yep.
But all in all, though.
And then just to finish off the evening, I finished by coming in my wife. Second time round.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think it was super sexy. 6 amazing people that in the room felt very comfortable together, or mostly comfortable together. I think that's not always the case, where people, especially if you don't know people, there's not, you haven't met them, or there's not like chemistry or whatever. That can be a bit difficult. It's like some of the questions also that we get asked is like, well, what happens if, we don't have a hell of a lot of chemistry with one of the couples? Or like, what do we do? How do we maneuver that? But this time, it just seemed to work really well, I would have to say. It was super fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. I had a whole lot of fun, with the exception of this portion we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and so really fun. They're great people. And actually, the next day we got a text message that night saying like, thanks, had a great time, which was really lovely. And the next day they actually invited us to a pool party on this Friday. So we're going to go see them again. So I'm really excited the fact that they're like keen to catch up with us. I think that's really lovely. And I look forward to like spending a bit of time getting to know them a little bit better.
Yeah,
aside
absolutely.
From just fucking them.
Yeah. Well, I think we did manage to have some decent conversation, but we were kind of separated a bit. So I had conversations with him
exactly,
and her separately, but we never as a group of four had a good conversation. So I'm looking forward to it as well. He's quite a nerd like me. So
yeah, me too. And you're right. Like when you've got 6 people or 8 people or whatever around the room.
And of course, what we're going to do now is now that we've found a group of 6 people really enjoy company,
we're going to leave the country.
We're going to leave the fucking country.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So let's take a quick break and let's come back with a very insensitive, stupid comment that I made throughout the evening.
Stupid I won't take. I think unthought would be the word I'd use.
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a second.
Okay, so let's get on to this comment.
Let's get on to it.
Where it's at.
Yeah, okay. So, years and years ago, I remember that we spoke about a couple where she said something to her partner mid-play. And I remember talking on the podcast about the outrage that we both faced, hearing her say that. And the next day, I was really reflecting. Well, I was reflecting on what I said that evening, but the next day I really started reflecting on it and, what happened to make me say that out loud, because in my mind I'm like, I would never say that out loud. So let me just cut to the chase, guys. What happened was that when Daryl had finished playing with some of the other ladies, there's a lot of play, he came around and started to engage with me. And he had a semi-erect penis kind of when he got to me, and then as we started to engage with each other, as he said before, his cock went flaccid. And because I had up until this point only been engaging with like oral with people, I felt like nobody else really wanted to like fuck me. And plus the fact that we haven't played with people for a while, and plus wine. I'm not making excuses. What I said at this juncture was horrendous. And if you're out there listening from podcast land and you hear this and you go, Kate, that was a really insensitive thing to say, I'm with you 100%. I agree. It's outrageous and I'm pissed off at myself. What I want to say to Daryl is I'm sorry for saying it. I think it was super insensitive. I think it was ill-placed, and it came from a position that had I actually sat back and thought about it a little bit, I wouldn't have said it. It's just that I just let my emotion come straight through my mouth hole and said, what's going on? So basically I said to Daryl, You've managed to fuck other women, you've been hard for other women, but you're not hard for me. That's basically what I said to you in a nutshell, and I apologise profusely for it. It's uncalled for. Yeah,
I agree. Entirely uncalled for, and actually really hurt my feelings and my pride while I was doing that, and in fact actually drove then the final interaction with you that I felt was a necessity rather than being something that I obviously wanted to do, which I did want to do anyway, but it's interesting how a comment like that can change your perspective from that of wanting to be, you still want to be involved, but it's just it goes from being, well, I really want to finish with Kate, and that never goes away, but for it to be, well, I have to.
Yeah, I feel like an obligation.
Whether I want to or not, or whether I've just broken my penis in 3 different ways.
Yeah,
I am required now to be able to no matter what the interaction that's going on around me, regain an erection, and 2, I have to be involved with her as the last person in the room.
Yeah. So
it was shit. It was really shit, and it really hurt my feelings. And this is the first time we've discussed it, and I need you to know that it was something that I, if I ever hear again in future, I will be leaving the room immediately.
Yeah, and I actually do have to say about that, because honestly, if I am amazed at your ability to hear what I said to you, realize maybe that it's coming, it's not the usual Kate, or I don't know what you can tell me what your thoughts were, like that was coming from a weird place. But I
think you're very lucky that there was a mirror in the vicinity, and I managed to look at it and think, I'm not feeling the best about myself right now, and I'm sure Kate isn't either, and I'm hopeful that that's where it came from. I did have to walk away from you. I don't know whether you noticed that, but I did have to walk away and go over. I mysteriously went back over to our bag to pick up something that didn't exist, but I needed to get away from that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have had to have left the room.
Yeah.
And if I did that, they would have put paid to everything and really destroyed the night for everyone, I think, to end it on a negative note. So
100%.
I made the decision to walk away, to gather my thoughts, and to try and recover. Because, I mean, as any man in the room can say, if you're the one, you know, who is identified as not being the person with the hard cock when it's required, that is an immediate pressure that you have on yourself, you know. And look, I have to say I'm very, very lucky in that regard, in a lot of ways, that I don't have to deal with that. And generally, it's not. I'm not the man in the room that has to deal with that. But in this particular instance, that any blood that was in that area at that point was very swiftly removed immediately.
Yeah, I understand.
So it only makes things worse as well. And again, thankfully, and I can only say thank you to the body control gods, I still managed the ability to regain myself after that and finish the way I always wanted to. But it made it a much steeper climb, I'm sure, than what it would have been if that comment wasn't made.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and honestly sit here and make actual excuses, because, like I said, what I said was insensitive. And, you know, if you've been listening to us for many, many years, you've heard us many times talk about how to try and help your partner get through maybe some of those difficult situations. But I didn't do that. I failed to do that. I failed as a good swinging partner.
And in fact, the next step after that, and the reason that or just before that, the reason that I actually got hard is the reason I described before, which was the fact that you had a woman who was playing with me and you at the same time, and I watched you come, and that is actually the thing that got me back to the point where I could then fuck her from behind.
Yeah.
So it was the irony of all of this is the reason that I was able to regain myself and then play with another woman is because of you, and because of the fact that I found it very sexy that you were playing with her. So it was, again, I suppose for me, another stab in the eye around that, because it was like, well, actually the reason that I'm back to here is because of you and because of me seeing you in the way that I like to see you. And, you know, so, yeah, it was shit. It was really shit.
Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses, but what I will say is that my mind at that point and where I was at was definitely coming from a place of, not feeling fantastic, wanting my partner, feeling a little bit left out, I guess, and then, you know, I guess also not having that interaction with any of the other guys, and then I guess you just took the brunt of that, which was just a really shitty thing.
Well, the other guys were struggling to some point as well, and actually then at that point partnered up effectively with their partners, which is why I'm going to use the word, which is why I ended up with, you know, trying to have sex with you, even though there were things that were trying to stop me as well. And that there was other people in the room that I was manoeuvring to get them into a position where they were okay with their partners. Yeah. And my head was on that. And then I came back and I was like, okay, well, now I obviously want to have sex with Kate. And that couldn't happen because my head was in another place. And then one of the couples split, and that's where she started playing with you and me, and that's when it all changed again. And that was why I recovered as quickly as I did when that happened. And so it was, I don't know. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing. Like I said, I'm amazed that you stayed in the room. Definitely think that I'm glad that you probably saw that, heard it, and whilst you were hurt, still had the capability to say, clearly that's not Kate's usual persona. Clearly that's coming from some other weird place. And, you know, whilst you're hurt, you were able to kind of just put that aside for the evening and finish it up. And that did happen very close to the end of the evening anyway.
Yeah.
But
I'm not proud of myself for the way I reacted, but certainly it could have been a lot worse. The thing that I am proud of is that I left it 2 days before I even asked you about it after the fact, to try and give you some time to think about it.
And I was definitely thinking about it.
Because I think your reaction that night would have been very different if I had brought it up that night.
And both of us would have been.
Yeah, because I was still very angry at that point.
Absolutely. And we were playing until like 4:30 in the morning. So, you know, you've got some tiredness involved in there as well. So, no.
Sleep deprivation, alcohol, and just general physical tiredness from the event.
Yeah, so it's difficult to have a pretty balanced conversation with a very emotional brain, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened, guys. We wanted to talk about. Well, I really wanted to talk about that on the podcast. One, to openly apologise to Daryl for my super insensitive comment. Two, to explain and to showcase the fact that
shit gets real.
We get stuff wrong, and we're sitting behind these microphones. And again, I'll go back to the fact that we've told you many times over the years how to manage this, and I didn't do it. So I just want to, mention that I was beating myself up for the next day and the day after, really thinking about it, like how could I say that to Daryl? How could I say that to my partner? But also thinking I'm lucky that Daryl is pretty level-headed. And so one of the things as well is, if you do say it, come together, maybe wait a bit and then discuss it. Don't necessarily try and solve your problem, solve the world that evening. Sorry, that's really all I can say.
Thank you for the apology.
Yeah. So that's it from us, guys. We want to talk about that six, and we hope that you found some sexiness in our play. We hope that you found some value at the end there. Please feel free to reach out to us if you want to discuss a similar situation that's happened to you before.
And look, feel free. Generally, when I'm the one who's fucking up, I get a cacophony of emails from people telling me how much of a bad person I am. Feel free to offer that to Kate as well if you'd like. I mean, I know it won't be the case because she is truly a lovely human being, and this is one of those instances where she made a mistake, and I love her for her good, and love her even more for the things that she gets wrong. It's just how life works sometimes. But certainly the apology is very nice to hear, and the education about what came out of that is even more nice to hear. So, but yeah, feel free. If you just want to send her a shit in the post pack in the mail, that'd be great. Just like a big turd. Just
a big hairy turd. Why is it that whenever I think in my mind about turds, I'm like, a big hairy turd seems to be like a next level up? I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it's because typically, that's what a dog will drop out.
Okay.
Big hairy turd.
Big hairy turd.
Yep.
So guys, that's been another episode of Swinging Down Under. We will come back soon with more episodes and a little bit about what's happening with us. See you guys.
Bye.
If you're looking for more ways to interact with Swinging Down Under, you can catch us on Twitter @SwingDownUnder. You can also catch us on Instagram, Swinging Down Under, or head over to our website, swingingdownunder.com. We would absolutely love to hear from you, so if you would like to send us an email, jump online, do it at cnd@swingingdownunder.com. If you've got podcast topics, questions, you want to talk about your journey, you can also support the podcast through our website by clicking through on any of the affiliate links, or alternatively to jumping over to patreon.com/swingingdownunder and sponsoring the podcast. If you can't do any of those things but just want to make a feel-good day, leave us a 5-star review. Cheers, everyone, and thank you again for supporting Swinging Down Under podcast.